Thank you all for being here and welcome to the Climate Center's quarterly business breakfast. We're very happy you could join us here this morning, and we look forward to hearing from all of you when we move to our sharing, our peer-to-peer sharing that will happen in the second half of this meeting. Before that, I'm going to just deliver a couple introductory remarks, tell you a little bit about some of the things that we've been doing at the Climate Center, let you know about some other opportunities for you to engage with us and our team. And then we're going to hear from the senator. We're going to hear from the CEO of Somo Village, Brad Baker. And we're also going to hear from our government affairs representative, Vince Maja, who has joined us here. Thank you. Nice to see you, Vince. Welcome. So for all of you, when you log in, your mics will be off. You're welcome to turn your camera on. Definitely when you want to go ask a question, we ask you to turn your camera on, but you're welcome to leave your camera on. It's kind of nice to see people. It's nice to see faces. It's nice to see people. It's been a strange couple of years, as I mentioned to the senator just a moment ago. The last time we met, all of us in person, was at LabCon in Petaluma, and Senator McGuire was our speaker then. Since then, we've been down a winding and rocky road, but the Climate Center, for one, has grown and thrived in this time. We've expanded our work statewide, and I'm happy to share some of our success with you. So if you will just indulge me for a moment, I'm going to share my screen and give you guys all just a quick little update and thank some of our key members. So here we go. So this is the Climate Center's Business Network Breakfast. As you know, we do this once a quarter. The Business Network is one of the programs of the Climate Center in which we want to engage with you, our treasured members of the business community, in developing climate policies that can help drive California to a climate-safe future. What does that mean? Well, Climate Safe California, as many of you know, is the Climate Center's comprehensive policy platform to get California to net negative emissions by 2030. Three key pillars, if you have not been fully inculcated in Climate Safe California: aligned with the latest science, ensure there's a just transition for the workers, their families, and communities who are going to be transitioned into a new type of economy, and promote climate justice through inclusion and equity. You can learn more about it at the link that's there. I'm going to ask Barry, if you wouldn't mind, Barry, to drop a link to the endorsement page, because many of you have already endorsed, including Senator McGuire, and we thank you very much for that. But some of you maybe have not yet had the opportunity to endorse, and we encourage you to join over 1,450 business leaders, elected officials, NGOs, cities, government authorities, and climate scientists and economists who have all said, yes, this policy platform is what we need to get to a climate safe future and a clean, resilient, equitable, and prosperous future. None of this would be possible without the support of our many members. So I just want to take a moment to thank some of them. Somo Village, that recently stepped up to diamond level. Thank you so much. Calpine Energy Solutions, been with us for years and is a big supporter of ours. Redwood Credit Union, Hobo Wine Company, so many. Here are some new members that joined us at the platinum level: Jackson Family Wines, Renewable America, Enphase. These are some of the real leaders here in our community. Y Green. I want to recognize Blue Planet Energy, that makes energy storage solutions, that has recently stepped up their membership. Willow Creek and Corey McGuire, thank you for your renewal. Mark Soyland and Soyland Company. And you can see the range of different kinds of companies. It's not just clean energy. It's food, it's medical testing, it's hospitality, it's finance, it's Sonoma Clean Power and MCE, or CCAs. It's Summit State Bank and the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. These are all members of this business network, and we thank each and every one of you. Recology, River City Bank, Guayaquil, Scott AG, Clean Tech Communications, recently renewed, Allen Land Design, one of our newest members, Amy's Kitchen, Yum Yum Delicious. We just had their food at our recent retreat, and it was excellent. We all enjoyed it very much, including some of our smaller members. You don't have to be a big company to be part of the business, the Climate Center's business network. Some of these are small one-person shops: Ken Roberts, Soul Solutions, Mission Capital, Carrie Fargo. All of you are members of the business network, and to all of you, we want to thank you for being here. So before I turn it over to the senator, I just want to mention a couple other things, because we've got some really exciting stuff coming up here in the very near future. Um, uh, One of them is our webinar series, Investing in Climate Action, and I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of this presentation. But I also want to recognize that the Climate Center has grown so much in the last year and a half, and one reflection of that is that we are now an official NGO observer at the UN Climate Conference, COP26. If you've been paying attention to the news, sometimes I just bury my head in the sand. It's too much to bear. But when I do lift my head up and look at the news, you see a lot about this climate conference that's happening in Glasgow, Scotland. And our CEO, Ellie Cohen, who would normally be happy to be here with us, cannot be here with us today because she's in Glasgow leading a delegation from the Climate Center of our board members and some of our other key partners in order to push both the California delegation and other folks in Glasgow to adopt the kind of policies that Climate Safe California is advocating. If you're interested in hearing more about this, I'd like to invite all of you, our business partners and friends, to join us next week on November 11th. Ellie Cohen will be delivering some remarks and answering questions in a format much like this, live from Glasgow. So if you don't want to hear the news, you want to actually get an insider perspective from the ground, that will be a great opportunity to do so. When I wrapped up my comments here in just a moment, I will drop a link to that in the chat also. And you guys are welcome to register and hear directly from our CEO, Ellie Cohen, who's going to be speaking to us live from Glasgow. So that's pretty exciting. But also exciting is the fact that we have Senator Mike McGuire with us here today. And I'm happy to introduce you, Senator. I'll just say a couple of words. I know you've lived in California your whole life. Your family farmed the Golden State for a long time. And you're a bootstrap guy. You had to kind of do it all yourself, and you've been working since you were 16. And now you're the third highest ranking member of the Senate and the youngest assistant majority leader in decades. You've been a fighter for the things we believe in: wildfire safety, kids in schools, stopping offshore drilling, and of course, climate. So with that, I want to thank you for everything you've done and turn the mic over to you for some comments, and then we'll take some questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, I ask you to just kind of raise your hand or drop a note in the chat, and I'll do my best to get as many of those questions in as possible before the senator has to depart for other important work at 8:30. So I'm going to give you the full 20 minutes. Senator, the floor is yours.
Hey, good morning. Dorn, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. Good morning, everybody. Happy damn Friday. Hopefully y'all are caffeinated to get your coffee and tea ready to roll. I am so thrilled to be with you. Want to say thank you so much to the Climate Center. They thank so many in our community, but let's just be candid. They're leading the way, not just here in the North Bay, but throughout the Golden State. We are so grateful. Can we give a round of applause to the Climate Center? Thank them for their leadership. They are bold, they are taking action, they're mobilizing, they're organizing, and honestly, California wouldn't be what it is today when it comes to climate policy without them in the lead. So thank you so much for allowing me to be with you today. What I wanted to be able to do, if it works for each and every one of you, give a brief update. What's happening across the state, some of the top issues. Of course, do a dive into climate. I want to talk about what we did this year. Then I'd like to be able to look forward, because I believe you're going to be happy about where the Senate is going to be heading when it comes to bold progressive action on climate. And by the way, bold progressive action means common sense to the rest of the world. So really look forward to taking questions and obviously having a conversation as well. Quick update on where we're at with the economy. As you know, COVID hit California incredibly hard. That said, 44% of all new jobs in the United States of America came from the state of California in the month of September, 44%. We are climbing out of this COVID-induced recession. Over the last 5 years, California's economy, even with the COVID-induced recession, California's economy over the last 5 years grew by 20%. You take a look at the other fastest growing economy, that's Texas, and they grew by 12%. We continue to be the #1 manufacturing state in the United States of America. We're #1 for venture capital investment. Even during the pandemic, California received more venture capital investment for business startups and expansion than all other states combined in the US. We take a look at our tourism economy. That took an incredible hit. It is anticipated that Sonoma County, for example, we'll be at 106% of normal next year compared to where we were prior to the pandemic. If you take a look at the rest of California, we're at about 97% of normal. San Francisco, LA, Orange County, San Diego continues to drag because we're simply not seeing business and corporate travel return back. We don't anticipate that to come back until about 2023. Revenue projections coming into the state of California this year, we're anticipated to have anywhere between a $35 and a $55 billion surplus. That's down from a $75 billion surplus this current fiscal year. That said, California continues to be on strong fiscal footing, and we're the 5th largest economy in the world. And with that, one of the reasons why we're starting to see such significant economic activity, we have the lowest COVID count in the nation. We have about 70% of the population with at least one shot. We fully anticipate by the first quarter of 2022, we'll be at 75% 2 shots. So that's really encouraging sign. And the last thing I'll just say is we've also been really focused on helping get the economy up and running again. We had the largest state tax cut literally in a generation, $8 billion to help small businesses come out of this COVID-induced recession, and $6 billion in tax cut for low-income Californians in the form of stimulus checks and tax cuts for those lowest income Californians. So it's really critical that we continue to focus on rebuilding a green economy. Now, I want to quickly switch the issue of climate. I think we can all agree the alarm couldn't be louder. Climate change is here, the evidence is clear, and the impacts are dangerous. And what we know here in California and the American West, over the last 30 years, we're warmer and we're drier. Extreme heat is now the top weather-related killer in the United States of America. And what we also know, according to climate scientists, Western states are now more susceptible to extreme drought, larger, more destructive, and more frequent wildfires as well. And we're also starting to see coastal communities impacted by sea level rise. And while the Golden State's temperature has always been variable, over the last couple of decades, here, especially in Northern California, we have hit all-time record for high temperatures in the summer and fall months. We know that this crisis is evolving faster than anticipated, and it's going to take all of us working together. So I want to talk quickly about where we were with budget this year, and then I'd like to talk about where we're going with policy in 2022. So this year, the state of California launched the largest, boldest budget commitment to combat climate change in the United States history. It is the largest investment to combat this climate crisis out of any state in the history of the United States. We're going to be investing $15 billion. We took $15 billion from the $75 billion surplus, and we're investing it to be able to tackle our growing wildfire crisis. We're investing it in drought response and helping communities prepare for extreme heat and sea level rise. We're investing it to be able to advance stronger, more sustainable agricultural practices. We continue to be the #1 ag state in the nation, and we need to be able to help especially those larger, more corporate farms become more sustainable. So I'd like to break down how this $15 billion is going to be spent over the next 24 to 30 months. $1.5 billion in enhanced wildfire prevention and response. $5.2 billion for drought relief over the next 3 years. $3 billion is moving into communities this year for drought response and resiliency. I'd happy to get into the details, but I want to make sure we have plenty of time for conversation. $3.7 billion for communities to help plan for managed retreat, sea level rise, extreme heat, as well as help improve public transit infrastructure. Nearly $4 billion will be spent on expanding access to electric vehicles. We need to be able to get those electric vehicles in the hands of lower middle income and lower income Californians. We need to continue to build out the electric vehicle highway across the state. That's where that $4 billion will be focused. And we're going to invest about $1.5 billion to transition traditional agriculture to more sustainable practices. So that's the significant fiscal investment that we made this year. Now we need to follow this with policy. So I will tell you, you are going to see the boldest climate action plan in the state's history coming out of the state Senate this coming year. Now, we're going to be focusing on 4 very specific pillars: transitioning from fossil fuels, labor and career training. We can't talk about climate change without transitioning those, for example, who are working the oil fields, all in organized labor in Kern County, transitioning to a green energy future. And we need to be able to provide the training, the funding for that. So we're going to be also focused on labor and career training. We're going to be focusing on greening the energy grid. That is absolutely critical. And candidly, we haven't done that great on that here in the state of California. And we also need to invest in bolder, greater adaptation and resiliency studies, as well as planning for coastal communities. So you're going to see this bold package that's going to be invested. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to sit down with a group of you to talk about this as we release this publicly here coming up in January or February, to be able to get your feedback and how we can work together to be able to move this policy forward. Once this policy is introduced, we'll have our next round of a fiscal plan to tackle this climate crisis. So we have the $15 billion this year. Next year, we'll have the climate action plan, plus a secondary budget investment that will go along with this climate action plan to fully fund where these priorities are to help California adapt and combat climate change. Now, I also want to say here locally in California, we have a big fight on our hands. We're currently fighting large coal barons coming out of Utah, Wyoming, and Montana, who want to start a coal train coming up through the North Bay area all the way up to Humboldt County. This is the same group that tried to be able to establish a coal terminal in the Port of Oakland in Alameda County. The same group tried to start a coal terminal up in King County and in Seattle at the Port of Seattle. They now want to establish a firm coal terminal in the Port of Humboldt. This is a great threat for our region, for the Bay Area and Northern California. This is a significant focus that I have personally, and we've introduced legislation that will stop the 800 coal cars per day from rumbling through Marin, Sonoma, Mendocino, Humboldt, and Trinity counties. That's anticipated. It also would hit Solano County as well. It is of great concern, and that's another focus that we have. We know that coal is the #1 contributor to our climate crisis throughout the globe. We can't talk about climate without talking about housing to ensure that folks can live where they work. And this is where we're also really focused. The Senate helped lead this with our president of the Senate, Tony Atkins, focusing on bringing forward smart climate housing policy. So #1, we know that the owner-occupied rate, the home ownership rate in the state of California, is the lowest right now that it's been since the 1940s, the lowest it's been. We also know that if you are earning the minimum wage, $15 an hour in the San Francisco Bay Area, you have to work 3 full-time jobs to afford the average rent. California has a crisis, and it's housing, and it is especially affordable housing. We need 1.5 million affordable rentals between 2015 and 2025. So we're advancing $3 billion to be able to build literally 40,000 affordable rentals throughout the Bay Area and the greater Los Angeles region. And this will include hundreds of units in the North Bay Area. We're also building in rural California. As we know, for example, in Lake County, they have some of the highest per capita GHG numbers because all those folks are having to be able to leave the county for work. And so what we're doing is we have very specific strategies for counties like Lake to be able to build industry in Lake and more affordable housing connected to that industry. So that's also another significant focus. We're also going to invest about $2.7 billion to combat this crisis of homelessness that we have on our streets over the next 3 years. We fully anticipate over the next 48 months, over the next 4 years, you'll see an additional 42,000 permanent homeless housing units wrapped with mental health services and addiction services throughout California. We built now about 9,000 over the last 20 months throughout the state of California. Significant focus as we move forward. We're also going to invest $1 billion for a Clean California campaign, focusing on litter removal on our highways, graffiti removal, and we're going to hire 10,000 formerly homeless residents, formerly incarcerated residents. We're going to provide them with a career in Caltrans to be able to connect them with a family-sustaining wage and benefits, which is absolutely critical. I just want to end right here and talk broadband. We know that high-speed broadband is no longer a luxury. It has to be a right. And especially in Northern California, too many residents are on the wrong side of the digital divide. So we're advancing $6 billion to build out America's largest public broadband network. $3.75 billion will be invested to build out the middle mile. We're going to lay fiber on the right-of-way of state highways, then connecting communities to high-speed internet. We'll provide communities $2 billion to build out the last mile, or their own infrastructure within the community. All has to be public broadband infrastructure, open access. So this is also really critical long-term, especially as we see this transition of so many folks we firmly believe are going to be in a hybrid in the years to come, coming out of COVID when it comes to their workplace. All right, I have talked way too long, Doran. I'm going to turn it back over to you. I'm so thrilled to be here today. Thank you again, and I look forward to the conversation this morning.
Wonderful, Senator. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Covered a lot, which is, I think there's a lot to do. So it makes sense that there's a lot to say because there is so much to do. As we know, here in the Golden State, we face a lot of challenges, and I'm certainly inspired to hear some of the incredible things that are coming down the pike. We've got a couple of questions, and I encourage you, if you'd like to ask the Senator a question, please drop a note in the chat and raise your hands. I'd like to start by recognizing Brian, baseball fan, Brian Unit. Great background. You're in Riverside, so I'm guessing that's not the Giants Oracle Park, but that's okay. We welcome all baseball fans. You have a question, Brian. I'd like to give you an opportunity to ask the Senator directly. And if anybody else wants to ask a question, please raise your hand or drop a note in the chat. Brian?
Thanks, Doran. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, what's up, Brian? Is that Dodger Stadium?
Yes, it is, Mike.
Oh, dear Lord.
And in my defense, I was born the year the Dodgers, I was born in Los Angeles the year the Dodgers came to California, probably about 2 miles from Dodger Stadium. So, you know, it's pretty much in my blood. So,
I hear you. Hi, damn.
But the question I had, and thank you for the update, because that was a lot of interesting information. I do a lot of work with the building trades. I'm an attorney here in Riverside, and was wondering when you talked about the workforce transition, how we take advantage of the existing apprenticeship programs that the building trades have and work toward creating a greener workforce, but that focuses on union jobs.
Great question. So first and foremost, we're taking $600 million of the stimulus funds that we receive from the federal government to be able to work with union affiliated construction companies, electrical companies, plumbing companies, to be able to implement region-wide infrastructure projects. So there will be incentivized to be able to get folks, especially in the building trades, out in the community. In addition, here's when NAFTA originally passed, and an individual's job was impacted by NAFTA. The federal government guaranteed 52 weeks of unemployment, a full year, plus covering full expenses when it comes to retraining. That's also something that we're absolutely looking at right now on how we can take folks, for example, and I'm just going to be blunt, there is no way that we're going to have a successful climate package if we simply say no more fossil fuels and we're simply not going to train anybody for a new job. Because in Kern County, the only family sustaining jobs are basically in the oil industry. And so the state has to step up to be able to do the right thing and get these folks retrained and in a living wage job. So you're going to see a real laser focus on this, Brian, this year. And I'd love, Brian, if you don't mind dropping your contact information in the chat, I'd love to be able to contact you. I want to say thank you to Chris Nielsen, who's on with me, who I work with each and every day. And Brian, I'd like to talk with you about some of these plans on the retraining that we'd like to be able to bring forward. In fact, was just sitting down with Aaron Lehane from the State Building Trades on what's today, Friday, on Wednesday evening, discussing how we can potentially move forward on some of these initiatives next year in the climate package.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Brian, for that great question, and Senator, for your thoughtful response. I'd like to invite Jeff Mathias. Jeff Mathias had an interesting question that I couldn't answer. He dropped it in the chat. Jeff runs Synergy Solar here in Sonoma County, one of our longstanding business network members. Jeff, can you hear me? And would you like to ask your question of the senator?
I can. Thank you, Senator McGuire, for joining us today. Quick question. I thought we did away with coal in our utilities here. What are we using all the coal for coming in those coal cars?
Jeff, I'm going to put a pin in my damn eye. Jeff brings up a really great point. You're absolutely right. California pretty much ended all coal use in the state of California. Here's the deal. So this is led by the Crow Nation out of Utah, Montana, and Wyoming. The Crow Nation, their reservation land sits on top of some of America's largest coal deposits. They have been working with the Inland Port Authority of Utah to be able to find a deep water port somewhere in the Pacific Northwest or Northern California to ship this coal off to Asia. They attempted this back in 2015, 2016 with the Port of Oakland. Alameda County and the city of Oakland revolted, was able to stop the project. They then went up to King County in Seattle. King County and the city of Seattle fought it and won. And now Humboldt is the lone deep water port left within their territory that could get a large container ship in and out to Asia. So that's why they have their sights set on the former North Coast Railroad Authority 320-mile rail line. Here's what I'll say. We're going to fight this tooth and nail. They're well funded. They have about $1.2 billion that they say that they're going to invest in this. But we know that the feds will make them advance a 7.5% return on any money that they invest in the rail. And we simply believe that they are actually underfinanced, even with the $1.2 billion. We believe it's going to take about $7 billion alone to rebuild that entire rail corridor. And by the way, we already have another proposal that's out there that's nearly funded, and that's for the Great Redwood Trail. It would be a trail that would go from the San Francisco Bay all the way up to Humboldt Bay, 320 miles. And we know that California is a $54 billion outdoor rec economy. And we firmly believe that this old rail line should be an economic driver and be able to take folks on the longest rail trail in America. So Jeff, that's their plan. They currently have an application in with the Surface Transportation Board with the federal government. The STB oversees all freight rail. I think we're going to be able to kill this and put a nail in the coffin of coal, but I got to tell you, it's a hell of a fight.
Thank you, Senator. I just love your passion. I just love it.
No, Jeff, thank you so much again for allowing me to be here. And thank you for the great question. And Brian, I'm looking forward to following up with you as well.
All right, Senator, I want to recognize we're at 8:29. I'm not sure if you've got another minute or two.
Yeah, please, let's do it.
Okay, great. Barry, you raised your hand, and then I'd like to turn to the last question from Stephanie. Barry, go ahead. Oh, and Heidi's also got her hand up. Let's see what we can do. Barry, you go first.
Sure. Senator McGuire, thank you so much for your climate leadership. You're always blazing the trail. I'm sure your staff is all wearing track shoes. Let me just ask you, I'm very excited to hear about this climate action package that you're obviously a part of and showing leadership on. Sounds like a group of senators or legislators. Of course, you know, I have to ask you, do you think there's any appetite for accelerating California's current climate target and making it more aligned with the current science?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Look, I think I'm going to speak for myself. I don't want to speak for Tony Atkins, who leads the Senate, so I'll just give you my own editorial. All the low-hanging fruit in this state, it's done. And again, as I said in the very beginning, that the alarm couldn't be louder. And I am so concerned about the world we're going to leave for our kids and our grandkids. We're going to need to take bold action, which means everything has to be on the table. My own opinion, Barry. And we'll have to see in regards to if the target changes and if the timeline changes as well, which I also think is absolutely critical. So Barry, more on that, and I'd be happy to get together. And I hope I'm not coming off as coy today, Barry. We're literally still working on this package and be happy to be able to sit down as we get something a little more firm. But I do think that you're going to be pleased with it.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Great. And Senator, I'm going to say this, when you need to go, you let me know. And Chris, if he's lingering too long and you think he needs to go, you let him know so he can let me know. All right. So, but we do have some more questions, and I want to take advantage of this opportunity for conversation. Stephanie, you had a really good question. If we have time, Heidi, you're up next. So Stephanie, if you can turn on, there you are, Stephanie. Hello. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, what's going on, Stephanie?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Senator, great to be here with you today. Thank you so much. My industry is zero power emission generation and distribution systems. And it's such an uphill battle in so many different areas within California that, we're constantly losing our power. The utilities are dealing with antiquated power lines, nothing that this group doesn't already know about. But the problem is that there's just not enough different resources for power. It's all generated, through a single IOU or one of the CCSs using those old antiquated lines. And I was just wondering what policies have been in discussion, if any, about really promoting more microgrids within communities. To support general people like us, as well as manufacturing and other businesses that really rely on power. I can't tell you how many times that I know like older people stuck in elevators for hours at a time. It's terrible. But I'm looking more for the commercialization side of it on a larger scale, with more like nested microgrids to really support what we have today with, because it's going to be a while before we can really replace all this infrastructure. So, if as a bridge or as, in addition to working with our local IOUs, can you speak to what you have in plans?
Absolutely, Stephanie. Thank you. So number one is back, Stephanie, don't quote me on the year it passed. It was either 2018, 2019 that SB 1339 passed. And what that bill was supposed to do is prod the Energy Commission, the Public Utilities Commission, to be able to develop and expedite programs that would advance, for example, clean energy alternatives to the behemoths that we are stuck to, like PG&E, SoCal Gas and Electric, et cetera, in advance, for example, microgrids. And they have been slow on the uptake. And I will share with you, Stephanie, I feel really frustrated about it because there's already a mechanism that these state regulators can advance. So what I would say, number one is, especially in rural parts of the state, in parts of Southern and Northern California, we desperately need to be able to see energy reliance and resiliency, and microgrids are the answer. And by the way, turning on our lights and being stuck with one behemoth monopoly is not the future of energy in this state, nor do I believe it's going to be the future of energy in the United States. So I firmly believe that the Senate package, again, I'm going to speak for myself, needs to focus on ensuring that regulatory agencies are upholding what is already in law and expediting common sense in regards to the issue of microgrids. In addition, in this climate package, we put in about $735 million to be able to accelerate progress on meeting the state's clean energy goals. This would be one of it. And Stephanie, I'm going to vent, and I don't mean, I'm going to just give me 20 seconds. I'm going to stop yapping and turn it right back over to you. But one of my frustrations is we pass a law with common sense like SB 1339, and then we have agencies who say they don't have the resources, even though they advocated for it, to be able to implement it. So no excuses left. Y'all got the money in the budget this year, $735 million. Now do the damn job and get it done. And I don't mean to be crass, but I do feel frustrated about this, Stephanie, and it's common sense. And we've seen the positive impact that microgrids can bring to communities, especially during PSPS events. Stephanie, I'll give you the last word on this.
Oh, thank you. Certainly the communication protocols are definitely there. They're in place. They're proven technologies. And it's something with maybe, this kind of support, we can really get a lot more good work done, within our communities.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator and Heidi. I see your hand up, but I just got word from Chris that the senator needs to leave. If we could just do this in like a 10-second super speed dating version. You've had your hand up for a long time. Heidi, mention what it is you want. We'll give the senator 5 words to conclude, and then we'll send him on his way because he's got important stuff to do.
Hey, good morning, Heidi.
Good morning. How are you, Senator? Good to see you again. Do you think there's an appetite in the Senate next session to push utilities to move faster on transportation electrification? They're currently sitting on $680 million in ratepayer funding to electrify transit buses, school buses, drayage trucks. The Port of LA just passed their clean truck fund. Obviously, there's an urgency. There's a lot of support to do it. But by God, why haven't we seen the utilities move faster?
I couldn't agree with you more, Heidi. Heidi, can you put your contact information in the chat? Would that be okay? And I'm going to have Chris Nielsen give you a shout on this. Would that be all right? Thank you so much on that. And you will hear from us. And I see Chaz in the chat as well, talking about how do we accelerate technology in alternatives to diesel equipment for light towers or cell phone towers, et cetera. Yeah, look, I think that is where we'd like to be able to go. Unfortunately, as we all know, those I think over the next 10 years, we're going to see incredible strides in the technology, especially of battery backup power, and it's going to be a fraction of the cost that it is now. I do believe that we're going to see a change in that. As you all know, there's now mandated 72-hour backup for cell phone towers. The state was agnostic on the type of energy just because we're in such a mess with power shutoffs. But you're absolutely right, Chaz. We need to be able to expedite that and more to come.
All right.
Thank you so much, everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you, Senator.
The holidays are almost here as well. What the hell has happened to this year? Have a great one, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
All right. All right, everybody, if you didn't drink your coffee, I think you're all fired up now. I mean, how could you not be fired up after hearing from Senator McGuire? Truly one of our champions in the Senate. He's awesome. We're so happy he could be here. We're so happy all of you could be here. We're going to be hearing from all of you in just a moment. Before we do that, though, I wanted to introduce you all to our Government Affairs Director, Vince Maja. He joined the Climate Center just in recent months, and he's been doing some amazing work with us. Vince, why don't you tell folks a little bit more about what we've accomplished, what we hope to accomplish out of all the things that the senator just laid out, and it was a lot. Where are we really putting our efforts? What are the things we hope to see over the next in the next legislative session? What do you think is most important?
Yeah, absolutely, Ron, and thanks for the warm welcome. And let me do just a quick time check. I know we discussed 8:45 for me, so that will inform what I'll talk about.
Yeah, if you could do a 5-minute introduction, then we'll turn it over to Brad Baker, who's patiently waiting on his iPhone there down at Somo Village. So 5 minutes would be perfect.
Perfect. All right. So just in the past year since I've come on in March of 2021, we focused our efforts predominantly on a couple of major avenues. The first was the most ambitious and first ever net negative emissions bill ever introduced in the Senate, SB 582. Unfortunately, it died due to the opposition of the big oil industry, but we are working with a variety of environmental as well as environmental justice NGOs in the coming year in order to put forward another ambitious target bill, which is what Barry was alluding to about appetite for climate change, because we see the targets setting policies as absolutely necessary to not only drive California forward in the fight against climate change, but also to set the example that can be replicated in other jurisdictions, which is what we've done in the past so many times, including through the Renewable Portfolio Standard. So on the horizon for 2022, we are going to make another play for an ambitious climate target bill. Within some of the more targeted sectors, last year we worked on a bill called SB 99, which was the Community Energy Resilience Act. That bill would focus on empowering our local governments to create plans that would leverage the clean distributed energy resources that we've got at our disposal, so that those local governments can take their energy fates into their own hands and decide where to place those resources, what facilities are deemed to be critical, and just leverage those technologies so that they can better weather PSPS or whatever grid outage due to heat dome or inadvertent wildfire comes their way. So last year we had a vehicle that was in motion, which unfortunately got held up in Assembly Appropriations, but we plan on troubleshooting that and bringing it back next year. Senator Dodd, who carried that bill for us, wants to carry it again. And so we'll gladly work with him and take up the flag once again. And many of the folks here were actually supporters of that measure. So we will be in touch as that progresses. We also, in parallel, pushed to get budget funding out of that, out of last year's budget in order to help support that effort. And we saw some of that appear in the form of the resilience planning funds that were allocated to the Office of Planning and Research out of, which is one of the state's agencies. And so we'll be working in the implementation process to make sure funds do go to community energy resilience planning. And as this good senator was alluding to earlier, the projected surplus means another opportunity to grab for more money, as it were. Everybody has their hands out, and we got to be there too. Finally, in terms of another success and from last year and a parallel effort moving forward this year was SB 27, which was a Senator Nancy Skinner bill that focused on sequestration for using natural and working lands. That bill, which was signed by the governor and that the Climate Center provided lead testimony on and was in backroom negotiations on repeatedly, that bill sets the first ever natural and working land sequestration target, but directs CARB to be the one who develops what that specific figure is. In the coming year for the 2022 session, we're looking at working with another office to put forward a more specific number. That's very much in development right now. A lot of things are potentially in flux, but we do intend to be playing in that natural and working land sequestration space. All right, Duran. And then, yeah, I think that's it. I tried to keep it just under 5 minutes.
Well, very good. Well done. We, obviously there are so many aspects to this. It's a matter of, bringing down emissions. It's a matter of sequestering carbon. It's a matter of creating the new economy. And we believe that policy is a critical piece of that. But we believe that policy is only as successful as the practice that follows. And that's one of the reasons that the Business Network is so important to us. Because we want to make sure that the policies that we're proposing and that we're advocating for will work on the ground for our business members, for the folks that are creating jobs, for the folks that are being entrepreneurial, that are trying to create the new world in reality on the ground. And one of our business members that's done the most in that regard is Somo Village. We've had our meetings there many times in the past. It's been a while, probably for most of you since you've been there. For those of you who don't know, this is an incredible mixed-use development in Rohnert Park, California, close to transit, super solar, electric vehicle chargers, and so much more. And to give us an update, before we move to hearing from each of us individually, we want to share our member spotlight with the CEO of Somo Village, Brad Baker. Brad, thank you so much for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's happening down at Somo Village these days? If you're still there, did you just disappear on me, or are you still with us?
Well, I think I'm still here.
Okay.
Thanks, Doran. I appreciate the opportunity and the Climate Center giving me this opportunity to speak this morning. I also want to give a little shout out to Senator McGuire. I think we're so lucky to have such quality elected officials in our area. As you mentioned, we've been very busy down here at Somo Village on really all fronts. We've always been a big believer in alternative energy, and we actually enhanced our solar array. We added over a megawatt of solar here recently that just went online last month. We actually put in some battery storage to enhance that system as well. We were very lucky. A lot of real estate companies really suffered during the COVID pandemic, and we also had some tenants that unfortunately were impacted by that. But we were lucky that a lot of our tenants are in the food business, companies such as Traditional Municipal Teas and Morton and Bassett Spices, and they've actually done quite well and have expanded. So we feel very grateful for that. One of the things that we did that I feel really good about is we've, another community that has really suffered has been the art community. A lot of these artists that would participate in showing their art and participate in, say, Burning Man were, found themselves, underemployed or unemployed. So we've commissioned a few really great pieces. So next time you guys come out, we have, I think, 4 new sculptures. I'm actually looking at the 4th one right now that really add a lot to our community. Just beautiful pieces that we're super proud of. And, one of the things in addition to sustainability is one of our other main, tenets of our community is public art. So one of the things that happened during the pandemic is that when they closed a lot of the parks, Somo Village became the biggest park that was open to the public. So we had a lot of people coming out, walking with their friends and family, walking their dogs, and now we gave them some beautiful art to look at. Another thing that we did that was in that same realm is we added to our food forest. So a few years ago, in conjunction with Daily Acts, we planted some apple trees and fig trees, limes, peaches, nectarines, and we added 600 blueberry plants, blueberry trees last year. So we have a lot of people coming out and picking fruit and eating fruit. And it's interesting because this used to be a lawn. Over the 15 years that we had owned this property, I had maybe been on that lawn 2 or 3 times. Now I'm out in the food forest 2 or 3 times a week. So what a difference turning a lawn into a food forest makes, not only for us, but for the community. And the big thing that I have to talk about is you mentioned that we are a mixed-use community. That was always true in concept, but the reality is we really have been a business park for the last 15 years with ambitions to add housing. I'm really pleased to say that we are in the process of adding the first 148 residential units as we speak. We expect to have units coming out of the, ground next spring. So we'll have a combination of single-family homes, cottage units, and townhouses in this first phase. And then we'll be adding more of the same in addition to some apartments and some senior housing that hopefully I'll be able to talk about here a little bit more. In conjunction with that, the senator had mentioned that we need to have places where people could live and work that are close by each other. And that's always been our dream here at Somo Village. So in that vein, we are adding a co-working space. Many of you will remember we used to have an organization called SoCo Nexus out here. SoCo Nexus was inspired to help businesses, entrepreneurs grow their businesses and succeed. That organization lost its physical space. It's still an entity, but now we are providing a physical space where people can come and work. So it's kind of SoCo Nexus meets WeWork. So it looks terrific. I was up there yesterday. It's just, I'm super proud of it. And we'll be launching that probably later this winter. So in conjunction with that, we have a brewery coming out here. Old Kaz. I don't know if anybody knows Old Kaz, but they're a terrific group of young entrepreneurs that have done just great things with very little money. And so we're supporting them. We're also going to be adding a coffee shop and a gym. So that whole dream of creating a mixed use community is finally coming to fruition. And we're really, excited about that. One of the things we haven't done so much about is our event business. It's hard to have big rock concerts when there's all of these restrictions, but we invite all of you out here next year, and we will be having a full slate of events next year, everything from concerts to art events and farmers markets and so forth. One last thing that I'd like to talk about is we actually rebranded our company as the Somo Group, the Somo Group of companies. And one of the things that we have, in addition to Somo Village, is we have other real estate holdings. And we are in the process of finishing up a new indoor climbing gym. It's called Session. And we did it in conjunction with Kevin Jorgensen. Some of you will know Kevin from the movie The Don Wall. Kevin and his partner, Michael Schaefer, are just terrific guys, born and raised in Santa Rosa. And so we're super proud of that. It's at the corner of Highway 12 in the 101. And that should be opening up in January. So if there's any rock climbers out there, we invite you to check that out as well. So it really fits in with our brand, which is about a healthy, active, sustainable lifestyle. And so again, we're honored to be able to present today. And if anybody has any questions, I'd love to entertain any questions.
Thank you so much, Brad. Anybody have anything they would like to ask about the housing units that are coming online or anything else about Somo Village? Please let us know. I just want to say, Brad, that I'm so happy that your housing is coming online. I know it's been a dream of yours since you first took over that former HP facility 15 years ago. What I will say is that you may not have the housing yet, but it is very mixed use. It's not just a business park. You've got art, you've got events. I have danced on the lawn. That is not a business activity. So it's definitely mixed use, and that's pretty awesome. We do have a question from our colleague Geraldine down in Southern California. She's our new LA community organizer. Geraldine, would you like to pop on the screen and ask your question of Brad? Because I'd love for folks to meet you. Geraldine is our awesome new representative down in LA, and we're very happy that she could join us today. Geraldine, go ahead and ask Brad your question.
Good morning, everyone. And I apologize if this was said during the presentation, Brad. I actually just visited your facility for the first time because I was in Northern California. So I was there on Wednesday with Barry Vesser at Sally Tomatoes, I believe the name of the place is.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, I was very impressed with everything that's going on, and it was very exciting to see. I was just wondering if any of the housing you're developing will be designated as affordable housing.
Yeah, Geraldine, that's a great question. So we'll have a variety of affordable housing. We'll have affordable housing by design, which is smaller units. I mentioned that one of the first product types we're coming out with is a cottage unit. So it's a smaller unit that all of our product is alley loaded. This one will actually have a walk-up paseo. So we're designing houses to be affordable, and they'll be, Sonoma County standards definitely on the very low end. We'll also have designated affordable housing that we will work with the city, and that'll be around 15%. So we'll have around 15% of affordable housing, and then we'll have another chunk that's affordable by design.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for your hard work on everything you're doing up there. It was really remarkable to see all the different things that are happening at your facility.
Well, I appreciate that. And next time, please come and say hi.
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Fantastic. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the question, Geraldine, and thank you, Brad. And I just want to tell everybody who's here that we do look forward to the time where we can gather in person again, and we plan to do one of our first meetings at Somo Village so that we can all walk around and check out the art and get tours of the facility if you haven't been there. Those of you who are outside the area, you will also be invited, so we hope that you can all join us. I do want to take the time. I know a couple of folks have had to bounce. We do still have a little bit of time, and I would like to move to a little bit of updates from some of the folks who are here. I see Dana, I see Bill Wolpert, I see Chaz. I just want to give folks a chance to give us a quick little minute or so. This is where we do our peer-to-peer sharing. So I want to start by calling on some of our members to give us a quick little update about what's happening in their business. Dana, if you would like to go first, we'd love to hear from Solarcraft. What's going on at Solarcraft, Dana?
Hey all, good morning everybody. So Dana with Solarcraft, you know, good long time strong solar installer. Pretty crazy, the COVID, everybody was home thinking about their house, so lots of action with solar, but everything was like walking through mud trying to get permits and people and make it all happen. Even though we're 18 months in, it's still kind of crazy busy with solar. But what I want to mention, what's super important, if you haven't got an email from Save California Solar and sign the petition, you really need to Google that and do that, or I'll see if I can't get that link out. But there's a big change in the way they do the solar math, which, you know, NEM 2 to NEM 3 is what I'm talking about, and it gets in the weeds a little bit, but that math of how you save your summer credits or daytime credits to use in the winter or use overnight, they're going to change that drastically in January. And by drastically, I mean, it could be very bad. So we're hoping for the best, but the CALSA, the California Solar Association, Solar and Storage Association, is working really hard to get 100,000 names and petitions. A lot of politicians are just kind of sitting on the sidelines. There's some political things going on. PG&E's playing their cards really well. And, you know, it's a big thing. You know, it's a big thing if we lose solar in California, and we're kind of on the edge of that.
Thank you, Dana. I just want to jump in, Duran, and say
Go ahead.
The Climate Center is going to be getting out an email action that will make that easy for folks in the coming week, I think before Wednesday. So look for that, but feel free, Dana, also to send something out to us and to our members. Yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much, Dana. We really appreciate it. And Solarcraft has been a supporter of the Climate Center for a long time, and we really appreciate that very much. I want to give other folks who would like to the opportunity to speak. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about your business, put your hand up. I want to turn to some of our partners. I see Ruben Aronin from the Better World Group is on the call, and then Chaz, I'll get to you next. You got it, buddy. Ruben, do you hear me? Are you able to? Here you go. He's turning on his microphone. Go ahead, Ruben. Give us a little update from Southern California. What's going on with the Better World Group? Then I'll go to Chaz and anyone else who wants to speak.
Thanks, Duran. The Better World Group is rallying the business community as well as advocates around the two big regulatory issues for 2022, when California will officially set the expiration date for the internal combustion engine, both for cars and trucks. And so we are working to influence the staff draft rulemakings for the Advanced Clean Cars 2 rule that will be coming forward in June of next year, and the Advanced Clean Fleet rule that will be coming forward next September. We're also working with advocates, and I think the Climate Center and your allies could be really helpful in lobbying the governor and the governor's office to prioritize budget surplus dollars, which we expect will be there next year again, to fund investments in incentives for ZEV cars and trucks and infrastructure, especially prioritizing investments that are going to benefit low-income communities. So that's a quick snapshot of top-of-mind things, while many of our colleagues are representing California at the COP, and so appreciate this forum and the opportunity to share those thoughts.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ruben. And I want to turn to some of the other folks. I just want to recognize Heidi, Damien, and Rich. You all have their hands up. I'm going to go to Chaz, who was quick to jump in. So Chaz, and you've been a supporter of the Climate Center before. Give us a brief update of what's happening at Soul Solutions.
All right. Thanks, Duran, for hosting this and bringing this group of people in. There's a lot of good stuff I'm hearing from the senator there for California policy. We've been working on the portable aspect of the solar equipment. And, over this last couple of years, we've really expanded out kind of the idea of point of use power and the portable solar power stuff on trailers. We've scaled it up quite a bit. And we're kind of going into almost the rental and service industry with some of this solar equipment now. We have some big opportunities in front of us, especially if they push the policy to eliminate the diesel equipment. Most of the portable power or the temporary power is diesel light towers, diesel generators, all across in all the construction industry, even Caltrans on the side of the road with Gelati. I still see diesel light towers. We're trying to replace that with solar battery equipment, and we're trying to scale that up into the rental markets. We have a Raise Green crowdfund right now for a company to scale this up, and a really good opportunity to show at the California Rental Association in Vegas in January to kind of show this equipment going out into the commercial markets more. So we're trying to get a little bit more support on that. And it has to happen both from the policy side and on the business side. So I'm going to put a link. We have a no shop with all our equipment, south end of Santa Rosa Avenue past Friedman's now. We've got a fleet of solar powered trailers and hybrid equipment that can come in for these temporary power uses, because we're hearing long delays before you're going to actually hook up to the grid, or what happens when the grid's down. So we're working in that resilient category too. So we'd love to encourage you guys to come by Soul Solutions down there at the end of Santa Rosa Avenue and check out our crowdfund. I'll put it right in here, and support us if you can. We're looking to keep this going. And really appreciate your continuing to do this, Ron, and the Climate Center.
Well, thank you, Chaz. And I'll tell you, folks, I've known Chaz since before I came to work for the Climate Center. He helped illuminate the parking lots and walkways at the Soulfest Festival that I worked in years ago. And it sure was nice to have those clean battery-powered light towers and other battery-powered solutions to help us run our events. So great to have you here. Thank you so much. I want to recognize Damien and then Rich. So you guys are in that order. Damien, go ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing?
Great. Thanks for the chance to talk, and really great to be here in general, and great to see the senator speaking this morning. So I work for Permaculture Artisans. We are a landscaping C27 contractor out of Sebastopol. We do sort of all kinds of standard landscaping ecologically. But the reason I'm here and really want to ask a question of everybody is we're really interested in getting into more carbon sequestration work on the land. That could be related to fire mitigation. It could be related to agriculture. We already sort of touch into some agriculture stuff, but we're a bit of a weird company. We do some things like rainwater harvesting. So we're not just a typical landscaping company, but I'm really trying to make connections so that we can take our work and make it more applicable to the climate crisis that exists. And I think there's huge opportunity out there, but I need some more connections to help really jumpstart our efforts in that direction. So anything people can provide would be appreciated. I'll put my contact information in the chat if people want to reach me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Damien. And as you know, Climate Safe California calls for massive amounts of new sequestration in natural and working lands. We believe the only way we can get to our climate targets is not just to reduce emissions, but also to capture not only the carbon we're going to continue to make, but some of the legacy carbon. And we see that plants and the soil as being the place, the best place to store that carbon. So the kind of work you're doing is critical.
And there's so many co-benefits as well. You know, besides just helping the climate, helping ecosystems and helping people, it's a really pretty obvious direction to head in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And before I turn to Rich, I just want to mention, Damien, that our friends at Jackson Family Wines, and I saw Aaron was here a little bit earlier, have been doing some very interesting work. As you probably know, so has Strauss Creamery, another member of our network. So hopefully we can connect you with more of these folks. So I'd like to go now to turn to Rich Waller, and then Heidi, if you would like to make another comment after Rich and tell us a little more about Amply Power, we'd love to have you do that. Rich, tell us a little bit about what you're up to and why you're here today.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And it's my very first meeting. So thanks, Ron, for the invite. And it's really great to meet everyone. It's been a fantastic event. So I just recently joined a company called MX, that's EMEX. It's a platform technology company focused entirely on sustainability. And what we're really passionate about, and there go my clean office building lights that just went off. Better. So anyway, so I'll
still see you. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So so basically, what we're focused on really is data, right? So our focus is how do we help our clients collect quality data that drive sustainability reporting, sustainability action. And so, what we really do is, provide that platform technology, build those workflows so that the foundation of both the mandated reporting and then for us, most importantly, the effective actions are really following. And so what we're really looking to do is collaborate with corporations, obviously as clients, public entities, and develop a public-private data footprint that allows us to establish effective targets, effective benchmarking, so that our solutions are really focused and kind of holistic in how we're approaching the solution. So, I'm a data guy. I've been doing this for the last, decade or so within healthcare, and really excited to just kind of join the community around sustainability and drive some of these actions and programs forward.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rich. I'm really glad you could join us. I'm very happy. I've known Rich for a long time. He married my wife's niece, so we're family. And I'm very happy to see you moving into this space and taking the skills and experience that you have and applying it to this critical issue. So thank you. And I look forward to more opportunities to connect and work together with someone who I hold very dear. So it's very happy to have you.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to recognize Heidi from Amply Power. This is also your first meeting. We're very happy you could be here. Tell us a little bit more about what you're doing and how we might be able to help.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for allowing me to join you today. I think you may have reached out to our CEO, Vic Shao. I know Vince on your team. I worked very closely with them during the Clean Transportation Plan Reauthorization California legislation, which is currently parked. Amply Power is a software company. We're based in Mountain View, California, right across from Google. We specialize in fleet electrification. We have deployments in Northern and Southern California, as well as Hawaii with HECO, and New York City with Brooklyn, with Logan Bus for their school bus fleet. And also, let's see, we have staff in Boston and Oklahoma, our software team. But yeah, I mean, we started out at 10 at the beginning of the year, and we've grown to 40. So we're quickly scaling. Yes, 2 thumbs up. Quickly scaling, not just across California, but across the US. And we have a ton of software developer openings. If you know of any folks who are looking to shift over from non-clean tech to clean tech software jobs, we'd love to learn about any candidates you might know of. So ping us.
Great. Thank you, Heidi. If you'd like to drop your contact information in the chat so people know how to get a hold of you, that would be great. Of course, Amply Power is the name of your company, so they can always find you that way also. And we're very happy to have you here and hope that you can become a regular part of this group. I'll follow up with you after so we can talk a little bit about how we can work together and what we can do to help each other.
Thank you. That'd be great. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, we do still have a few more minutes left. If there's anybody else who'd like to give us an update on their company, Derek, I see you've got your hand up. You did it the old-fashioned way. You actually put your actual hand up in the air. So thank you for doing that. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to.
Yeah, it shows my tech ability. I couldn't figure it out on my screen, so I just went for the old school. Thank you. Thanks for having me here. Barry, thanks for you having me here, inviting me. Met him at the Paul Hawken event in Occidental a bit ago, and thank you, Climate Center, for creating this scenario for all of us to come together, and also Mike McGuire for his fervor, and lastly, Bradley at Soma Group for their commitment to the landscape and they bought some of our material, and it's under your blueberries so that they'll be growing healthy blueberries, but also sequestering carbon in a beautiful, win-win situation. So I have two small companies. One's called Old World Winery that I've been doing a natural wine for 23 years. And through that, I developed a soil amendment for my farming process. And we've now commemorated that in a separate business called Soil Carbon Management. We won the Sonoma County Biomass Business Competition in June. And now we're working on a public-private partnership with Sonoma County at a site at the airport, actually, where we're going to ramp this thing up and try to get as much of the biomass being created in Sonoma County to be kept in Sonoma County. Most of it does. There's a few places where biomass goes in the county, but mostly it's going to Sacramento to be burned for electricity, and also to green waste in Vacaville. So it'd be better to keep it here, put it on our farms. And as the Paris Climate Accord says, if we can raise our soil organic matter to 4% in the world, we will have negated all of the human carbon evolution. And that's a good start. That's totally doable. A fungal dominated compost is the way to do that. Fungi are the ones that help us sequester carbon. And so that's what I'm here to do, and looking forward to our growth and growing with the Climate Center. Thanks for having me.
No problem, Derek. Thank you so much. And some of you may not know that coming out of college and grad school, one of the first things I did was work on composting and compost education. Big fan of fungi. A lot of times we don't recognize the smallest, most microscopic or microorganisms that can really be a huge part of the solution. A lot of times we tend to look to big technology, but the answer in many cases is literally right under our feet. So thank you for the work you're doing there. Tina sent out a shout out from Somo Village. I just wanted to recognize that connection, that your material is underneath those very blueberries that Bradley was talking about. So that is very cool. And we're really happy. That's part of what this business network is about, is bringing folks together to share across sectors and across different industries and from different geographic regions. As the Climate Center continues to grow in scope across the state, it's a great opportunity for us to hear from all of you. If anybody else would like to give us an update, or Steve Worrell from Biofiltro, I see some other folks who I'm not as familiar with, but you're always welcome to put your hand up. And while I wait for that, I'll just mention a couple things. And here, Steve turned his camera on. I guess that means he wants to say something. Welcome,
sure, I'll
Steve.
say hi.
Yeah,
thanks,
say hi.
everybody.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for your time this morning. Apologize my appearance. I was really just calling in to listen, but
you're looking good. It's all good.
Yeah, so I'm head of engineering with Biofiltro. We're a wastewater company, actually. So we have a wastewater technology that uses vermicomposting to treat biochemical oxygen demand and total suspended solids. So we have a lot of treatment facilities that work in the dairy industry and food processing and wineries. And rather than using a high chemical or energy intensive wastewater treatment, we basically simplify, use worms and a simple irrigation process to treat wastewater. And our outputs are treated irrigation quality water and vermicompost rather than biosolids, biomass sludge that needs to be handled separately. So that's us. I'm here more personally interested today than professionally, but thanks everybody.
No worries. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for taking a moment to share what you're doing with us. Yeah, worms, amazing. A lot of people don't know that Charles Darwin wrote more about worms than he ever did about apes. He was obsessed with worms, and he believed that the worms are secret to soil fertility, because that's the truth. And they can also help us in a lot of other ways. So thanks to the fungus, and thanks to the worms, and thanks to those of you who work with them to help make our world cleaner and greener, as well as solar and all the other technologies and data and everything else, and finance, which brings me to something I want to mention. And we do still have a couple of moments. So if there's anybody else here who wants to make any comments, please put your hand up and I'll get to you. But before I do that, I just want to mention, thank you, Steve, for dropping your contact information there in the chat. Appreciate that. I do want to mention that Climate Safe California, which is our comprehensive policy platform, and once again, if you haven't endorsed it and you think it's a good idea, please do. We'd like to grow that 1,450 people to 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 3 million. So let's go viral with this, if you don't mind me using the term viral. But I do want to just mention that Climate Safe California depends on a lot of things. It depends on following science. It depends on keeping equity at the focus, but it also requires that we develop the ways to fund the things we need. We need to direct more money to the things we want more of, like worms and fungus and solar and batteries, and less money to the things we want less of, like fossil fuel extraction. And in order to do that, we have to think creatively about how we invest, right? What are the investments? And along those lines, the Climate Center is hosting a series of webinars, a little different from what we're doing here today, which is a conversation. This is an opportunity to hear from the best and the brightest in webinar series, Investing in Climate Action for Jobs, Equity, and Health. And I just want to make sure every one of you is aware of that webinar series so that you can sign up. It starts in about 2 weeks on November 18th with the human and economic costs of inaction. What are we doing right now that's or what are we not doing, and how much is that costing us in terms of human health and in terms of lost economic opportunity? That webinar series will continue throughout the spring into the early summer. We're going to have topic-specific webinars, including investing in farmers for soil health, including investing in clean buildings, investing in community energy resilience, and all of these topics that we've been touching on here today. So I encourage you all to check it out, sign up. If your company is interested in being more engaged or in sponsoring, please let me know. Spread the word. We've got all kinds of ways to spread the word through social media and the like. So we hope you guys can all be a part of that webinar series that starts in just a couple of weeks. So with that, I just want to say, I want to thank everybody very much for being here. I know we've got a few minutes left, but I'm sure all of us would not necessarily mind getting a few minutes back in our day. So I just want to say one more time, if there's any other hands going up, I don't see any other hands going up. I want to thank all of you, each and every person who took the time to be here, not just for being here today, but for what you do every day in your jobs, in your lives. Every time you take a can and put it in the recycle, or take your kitchen scraps and compost them in your backyard, or decide to purchase an electric vehicle, all those decisions matter. But more importantly, you guys are building businesses and creating the new energy economy, and the climate safe future is going to come from all of you, from Rich, from Damien, from Brian, from Steve, from Derek, from Chaz, Sam, who's our volunteer down in LA. I want to thank you so much for all the help you've done today to bring some of these great folks here, including Heidi and others. Ruben and the work you're doing with the Better World Group, the senator who was here with us today, Mike McGuire, all the senators, Henry Stern and others who have all been a part of creating this climate movement. Please continue to work with us. Please continue to do what you're doing. Thank you all so much. We'll be doing this again in a few months. We will have these virtually. So those of you like Brian down in Riverside, and we forgive you for your love of the Dodgers. We won't hold it against you. It's in your blood, like you said. It's quite all right. We can still work together. Giants fans and Dodger fans, that's how important this is. Giants fans and Dodger fans are coming together around the climate. That tells you how critical this issue really is in our world. And Geraldine and Brian, you guys share a passion for the blue, and we love it. So it's all good. So thank you once again, everybody. Please look for future information and invitations to events. If you'd like to talk more about how you can get more involved with the Climate Center, how you can support our work, my name, Doron, D-O-R-O-N, at theclimatecenter.org. I'm always interested to speak to folks. So I want to thank you one more time, not only for being here today, but for everything you do every day to make our world a better place. So thank you all, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you all. Thanks so much for coming.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Doron.
you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Toran.
Thanks,
Thanks everyone.
No
Have a great
problem. My
day.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Brian.